it is Cindy and welcome back to the channel. I am so glad to have you here today. We are building in San Myshuno on 19 Culpeper House today, and the concept behind this apartment is that it's for a large family, but they have a low income. And the inspiration behind this build has actually come from my private save game. I have probably about a dozen or so households that I play rotationally in, and I do have story progression enabled for my households, but I've limited it to like I think they can adopt pets, and then I also do have random deaths on, and my game just randomly kills off Sims that I have been playing with for years, which is both tragic, but it's also been really interesting, and I need to do a video about the results of that. But that is not today's video. But I have a very large household that I've been playing in my private save game, and my game went and killed off their mother, who happened to be the main breadwinner of the family. And they have a gigantic house with a whole bunch of kids, and dad is really struggling to try and keep the house and keep, the cash flow coming into the household. So they were the inspiration behind this build because I thought, oh my goodness, they might have to sell their house and move into a tiny apartment. So here we are. But if you enjoy this concept and this apartment and you would like to add it to your own game, you are most welcome to do so. And you can find it on the gallery using my EAID or hashtag HyggeHaven. That is HYGGEHAVEN. And if you add it to your game, like I said, add it into 19 Culpeper House, and the weekly rent is 600 simoleons. So I think that's, reasonably affordable for most even low-income families. But, if it's still too tight for your low-income families, then obviously you can go in and delete certain things. For example, I've included laundry in this build. You don't need to keep the laundry, so delete out the machines and the hampers and so forth. But yeah, it should fit most people. It is suitable for 6 Sims. That is the number of beds that I have included in the build, but you could easily pop a few extra beds in and make this suitable for up to 8 Sims if you wanted to. But anyway, I've mostly talked through the layout, and the kitchen is almost finished here. So just to give you a little bit of background information, you may see that as I am building, I'm kind of flipping back and forth between similar objects. And the reason for that is because I was trying to be very mindful that this was going to be for a low-income family. I am trying to use the less expensive options in the game. So we've gone for like the cheaper counters, not like the super grungy ones, just the least expensive ones. The dining chairs and table are least expensive and so forth. So I'm just checking prices, which is what you're seeing there. And I also do try and fit in a bunch of items that maybe can help with reducing the costs. For example, out on the balcony there, we're going to get some planter boxes. I also add in like a knitting box later on and so forth. And then I also imagine that there's a couple of pieces in this build that are maybe family heirlooms. So for example, in the kitchen, I added in a really nice wall clock. And it wasn't like super expensive, but it's a little bit of a nicer, fancier piece than you'll see the other furniture. For example, here in the living room is a bit more run down and worn. And I just figure like that clock is probably like a nice family heirloom that one of the parents have. So, little touches like that. But I kept the kitchen pretty simple. There's not too much clutter. There is enough seating for everyone, including a high chair if you want to use a high chair. Again, if you can't stand them, then obviously delete that out. And then the living room, I'm not finished with, but I started decorating the living room, and then I thought, hold on, I want to kind of figure out the Sims' personalities a little bit more. So that's why I've paused from decorating the living room, and we're here in the bedrooms instead. So this middle bedroom I have started, and this is for a child and a toddler. And I love this wallpaper. It's one of my favorite wallpapers in the game, and I loved the orange curtains, and that's why I changed the rug to this super cute little fox one, because it kind of matches with the orange in the wallpaper and the curtains. And you'll see that a lot of the toys or the sculptures of children's toys that I pull out to add here are a lot of the like cardboard box DIY toys. Like here, the rocket ship is like a cardboard rocket ship. It's just a sculpture, but it looks like a kid has just, taken some boxes and made something out of, which I certainly did as a child. I think a lot of people end up doing that when they're a kid. And, there's a lot of toys in here that I imagine, because they don't have a lot of money to go out and buy expensive pre-made toys, that the kids, make do and make their own toys, which I think is awesome, absolutely. So I wanted to add those in, and I think it really kind of helps to tell the story really nicely. And we've got some like DIY craft supplies in here on the dresser and the cardboard doll house and so forth. I also realized after I finished recording that I completely forgot to put like a lot of toddler toys in. Of course, the toddlers can play with the doll house and with the Blarfy stuffed animal and the toy box. They can play with the toys in there. But I did go back in off camera and I added in some toddler blocks so they can build up some logic skill. And then the next bedroom that we're working on here is for either two teens or a teen and like a preteen. And when I found this bunk bed with like the melon orange and pink stripes, I was like, oh, there is like the exact same colors in the pastel pop wallpapers. And you can see I've used it here and they match so, so well. And then there wasn't anything else that really kind of went with those colors. So I went with the black lower bunk bed, and I love it because I imagine that like the preteen or the younger teen is like super into pink and preppy and is very goal oriented. And I realize this is very stereotypical of me, but humor me. And then I imagine the bottom bunk that is black is for the teen or the older teen who's much more, kind of goth, grunge sort of idea. And I just love how these two very opposite styles and personalities have melded together in this bedroom. I think it's just so fun. And I did kind of go for the bougier curtains. The cheaper option would have been the macrame curtains, but I really liked how these ones looked. And I also swapped out not the wardrobe, the dresser that I initially had, because it had like a marble top and it just seemed way too expensive looking for the concept that I was going with this low income family. So we swapped it out for something that's maybe not so expensive looking. And then we're just adding in some decor and clutter to kind of go with those personalities. Maybe the preppy teen is a little bit more messy, and their clothes are spread around and so forth. I also got the paranormal palm reader hand here for the more gothic teen. We also add in like a boombox. Here we go. I used to have a boombox like cassette player like this when I was a teenager in my bedroom. So I definitely wanted to represent that here in the bedroom as well. And we popped in some school bags and things. Later on, when I add laundry in, I do come in and add a couple of hampers to some of the bedrooms. But now we are on the final bedroom, and this is the parents' bedroom. And I went with this really pretty green, kind of viney bed. And we keep things really simple in here. I really like the soft green wallpaper, and the color swatch on these curtains I very rarely use, but I think it went together so nicely with the bedspread. Same with these paintings. I don't often use them, and I don't always like them in these very muted colors, but they worked just so well here. And I wanted to get this photo. It's like a football team photo, and I reckon that's, some of the kids in one of their sports activities, so the parents have a photo of them in there. And then we just need a wardrobe, and we're changing it up with a little bit of dark wood on this side for the mirror and the wardrobe, even though the end tables are in a white. But again, some of these pieces, I reckon they have either like hand-me-downs or they're old furniture that, they had left over from when maybe they were in college or something to that effect. And I add the knitting box in off camera to the bedroom later on. But now that the bedrooms are finished, we're back in the living room, and I just love this little kids' corner, this play area here. And I love the blackboard or the chalkboard wall that I did next to the kids' corner. Shout out to Dr. Gluon because I saw that he had this in one of his 100 Baby Challenge houses, and I just thought that was such a fantastic idea. I don't know if he came up with it or somebody else came up with it. I'm sure I've seen it a couple other places, but I know that's where I first saw it. So I love that idea, and I wanted to include it in here. I think it's just such a inexpensive, fantastic way to, give the kids more play options and instill their creativity, which clearly they're very creative because they build all these things. And then just adding in a couple more pieces of furniture. I did play test this apartment, and I discovered that the plant that I added by the window was actually causing routing issues, letting Sims get to the sofa and the armchair and things. So I've just kind of smushed it into the curtains and the wall a little bit. Every now and then it was still giving routing issues, but not consistently. So I don't know if it's going to be a problem in everyone's game or if it's just a little weird in mine. If it does give you any problems, then just delete that plant and it shouldn't be a problem. Every now and then there's a pop-up book that I also put on the floor that was giving routing issues, and I put it up either on the coffee table or I moved it to a different area on the floor by the armchair. I can't remember which I've done. And it was still sometimes giving issues. So again, if that's a problem, then just delete it out. Obviously, it's just decorative, so you don't need it. But here on the balcony, you can see I put the planter boxes in and just a couple of chairs. I go in at the end of the save file and I add a bicycle in for one of the children as well. But again, if this is a little too expensive for your family, you could always delete that bicycle out, or basically everything on the balcony. It's just like bonus space anyway. But the hallway here is just very simple. We just have a sideboard with a little bit of clutter on it, but I didn't go too over the top with it. And then I have actually added 2 bathrooms into this apartment. And it does strike me as a little bit odd that they're side by side. One is a full bath, and then the other one is a powder room, like guest toilet. I really wanted, if you were going to have like 6 Sims living in this apartment, or 8 if you really wanted to jam that many in, I really felt it was necessary to have 2 bathrooms. And ideally, in the smaller guest bathroom, I also wanted to put a shower, but then I also realized we needed a potty and I don't know. I mean, you could make them into 2 full baths and then just put the potty somewhere else. So that is certainly an option, but I kind of liked the having like the full bath in the larger room and then just having a smaller, simpler guest toilet in the smaller room. But of course, if you add this to your game, you do with it what you will. And I also loved just putting like some random laundry here. I think that's really realistic, especially in a large family household where you've got lots of little kids. They're just going to leave laundry and toys and everything all over the place. But again, I didn't go super overboard with the clutter. There is a little bit of clutter here. And I also decided to, match the floor tile with the floor tile in the kitchen because I did have different tiles in the bathrooms originally. But I think this kind of adds a little bit more cohesion to the overall apartment. So this is the smaller guest toilet, and then I've sectioned off an area with the pipes that sometimes break because this is a TLC apartment. Your Sims can still access it. There is a door for them to get in there, and I do put some laundry machines in there. So again, if you don't want laundry, you can take that out, but it is a fully accessible room. So, you can play with it and use it if you want to. But that is almost everything for this build. So if you enjoyed this video, a like is always much appreciated. If you're new here, consider subscribing and click that bell to be notified of future uploads. But we are just going to add some finishing touches. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you really enjoyed this. I will leave you all with the screenshots and have a lovely day.